Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai, Bahashem, Rachakudash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahabashai is of the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahabashai. And pretty much, continuing on with the topic of idol worship. What is idol worship? In this lesson, I'm going to be going over Deuteronomy, the 13th chapter, because in the ancient world, things was more strict, all right? Under 2 or 3 witnesses, you got put to death, all right? Particular laws, statutes, and commandments. The consequence or the penalty of sinning was what? That you got put to death, all right? And one of those things that was a sin unto death was being an idol worshiper. No matter who it is, in the ancient world, you got put to death, all right? So without further ado, we're going to get into it. So this is what I typed in on Google, right? I typed in Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy 13, it says, commands the Israelites to severely punish anyone. This is anybody, all right? And any of your fellow Israelites, no matter what tribe. It says, enticing idol worship, right? Whether false prophets, friends, or family, by execution, and to destroy entire cities that turn to other gods. So the Most High, he don't play when it comes to idol worship and idolatry amongst his people. All right, he's not a respecter of person. See, in the ancient world, false prophets, they got put to death. All right, friends, family, they got put to death. It says, this chapter serves as a test of devotion, emphasizing total loyalty to the Lord over all human relationships and false miracles. All right. So I'm going to get into it, but let's read it. It says, key components of Deuteronomy 13 include, it says, false prophets and dreamers, from verses 1 through 5. If a person performs signs or wonders but urges the pursuit of other gods, they must be executed. The Most High allows this to test if the people truly love him. See? So all of our people that are atheists, they believe in other gods, different philosophies, even things like Scientology, our people worshiping Cesare Borgia, they would have got put to death in the ancient world. Because once you know better, you're supposed to do better, all right? We all been called out of darkness into this marvelous light, but once you're told that this is wrong, now you're held accountable, right? It says apostate, family and friends, from verses 6 to 11. Even close relatives or dear friends who secretly entice others to worship idols must be reported and put to death by stoning, starting with the witness hand. So if you witness any of the 12 tribes of Israel doing any form of idolatry or idol worship, or trying to make that other fellow Israelite sin by trying to entice them to worship another God that's not Yahweh or Yahabashai, you're supposed to throw the first stone and put them to death. It says idolatrous cities, from verses 12 to 18. It says, if a city is led astray, it must be investigated. If proven true, the inhabitants and livestock are to be destroyed, and the city burnt, never to be rebuilt. The chapter emphasizes that such strict measures are necessary to remove evil, maintain holiness, and ensure the communities, or the community, meaning all the 12 tribes, remains faithful to Yahweh and Yahabashai. All right? So there you go. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Deuteronomy chapter 13 and verse 1. So as you can see the headline, it says shun idolatry, meaning to avoid it, right? The NLT, it says a warning against idolatry. So now let's get into it, right? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 1. It says, if there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer or dreams, and giveth thee a sign or wonder. Let's read that in the NLT. Deuteronomy 13:1 NLT version. Suppose there are prophets among you, or those who dream dreams about the future, and they promise you signs or miracles. I'm going to continue in the NLT. It says, and the predicted signs or miracles occur. If they say, come, let us worship other gods, gods you have not known before, do not listen to them. So this includes a family member, friend, any of your fellow Israelites, right? It says, do not listen to them. It says, the Lord your God, which is interpreted as Yahweh Abba God, because the word Lord is in caps. So it's referring to the God of Israel. When you see the tetragrammaton, the four-letter word, YHWH, is missing the A sound. It's missing the letter A. So it says, it's testing you to see if you truly love him with all your heart and soul. Right? So you're supposed to defend Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. You're not supposed to cause your members or make your other fellow Israelite worship other gods, or do something that's going to make them forsaken Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. All right? So if you truly love the Lord, you know, you're supposed to tell somebody that, look, you're going north, and back in the ancient world, they was to be reported to the elders of the city, to other people. Right? So this is how it was in the ancient world. Now in this time, you know, we under grace. The elect is under grace to where we're not held to that old covenant standard. We can't keep a sinful flesh, which is why Yahweh Shai died for us, and through him we have mercy from the Father. And also, what do we do to show Yahweh Shai we love him? We defend the gospel. All right? It says, if you truly love him with all your heart and your soul, it says, serve only the Lord your God, which is Yahweh our God, the God of the Israelites, and fear him alone, right? So we're supposed to fear Yahweh, and we fear Yahweh Shai as well, because we worship Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, right? We ain't supposed to worship no other gods outside of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. If the heathen nations want to do that, they have their right now to do that. But when the kingdom of heaven is established on earth through Yahweh Shai, then they're not going to have that privilege of committing idolatry and fornication, because they're going to be under our authority, and they're going to have to keep our culture, our way of life, which is the law, statutes, and commandments. It says, serve only Yahweh your God and fear him alone. Obey his commands, listen to his voice, and cling to him. The false prophets or visionaries who try to lead you astray must be put to death. So this was a serious thing. If you was a false prophet teaching according to your own private interpretation, teaching lies to our people, you know, leading them astray from Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, you got put to death. All right? It says, for they encourage rebellion against Yahweh our God, who redeemed you from slavery, right, captivity, and brought you out of the land of Egypt. Since they tried to lead you astray from the way Yahweh our God commanded us to live, you must put them to death. So this is no joke. Committing idolatry, you know, bowing down to wood and stone, the Lord don't play with that. He said in Isaiah 42:8, he's not going to give his praise to graven images. So when you worshiping an idol, that's what you're doing. You're giving the praise that's supposed to go to Yahweh and Yahweh Shai alone to something that don't even exist. It says, since they tried to lead you astray from the way the Lord your God, Yahweh our God, commanded you to live, you must put them to death, and this way you will purge the evil from among you. The scriptures say a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. It's just like a cancer. Eventually a cancer is going to spread throughout your whole body. So that's why particular people, they have to get particular limbs amputated before the cancer spreads throughout their whole body and it leads to death. Well, that's how the Lord looked at an idol worshiper in the promised land of Israel. If you had somebody or a group of people that were idol worshipers, they had to get put to death before that cancer, meaning those people and the way how they think, spread to other people. It says, suppose someone secretly entices you, even your brother, right? Your son or daughter, your beloved wife, or your closest friend. So this is about to get deep. The scriptures is deep. The Most High, he's not a respecter of persons, all right? See, the heathen nations, they're going to have to implement this law in the kingdom of heaven. Us as the Israelites, we're going to be under the new covenant. So laws like this amongst ourselves, we're not going to have to worry about, because all of us is going to be perfect under the new covenant, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel. So I'm going to read that again. Ain't no respecter of persons, man. See, man is a respecter of persons, but the Most High, he ain't like that. Deuteronomy 13:6. Suppose someone secretly entices you, even your brother, your son or daughter, your beloved wife, right? Your pretty ass wife, right? Or your closest friend, and says, let us go worship other gods, gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known. Let me read that in the KJV real quick. Deuteronomy 13:6, KJV. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thy own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, nor thy fathers, right? Let's go to verse 7, NLT. It says, they might suggest that you worship gods of peoples who live nearby, or who come from the ends of the earth. Verse 7, right? Let's talk about the heathen nations. Verse 8, NLT. It says, but do not give in or listen. Have no pity, meaning no mercy, and do not spare or protect them. Because the scriptures tell you that the name of the Lord is a strong tower, that the righteous run into it and is safe. So if you worshiping another God, you don't have that hedge of protection from the true living God as an Israelite, from Yahweh and Yahushua. NLT, verse 9. You must put them to death. Strike the first blow yourself. So this was no joke in the ancient world. If you was an idol worshiper and a man was in his right frame of mind, he was a true worshiper of Yahweh and Yahushua, all right, he could immediately just put you to death. He don't even got to give you a warning. You know, he don't got to do nothing but put you to death and implement the law. It says you must put them to death, strike the first blow yourself, and then all the people must join in. All right? That's the real jumping in righteousness. It says, stone the guilty ones to death, because they have tried to draw you away from Yahweh your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of slavery. Then all Israel will hear about it and be afraid, and no one will act so wickedly again. Exactly. Because they're going to see how that one person, whether it be a man or a woman or somebody's wife or son or daughter or family or relative, got put to death with no mercy. All right? They're going to hear the screams. They're going to see the blood splattered all over the fucking place. Right? And they're going to know, okay, I'm not going to commit idolatry. I'm not going to commit fornication, because that could be me or worse. Right? Looking like a pancake on the ground. It says, when you begin living in the towns Yahweh your God has given you, which is the promised land of Israel, each of the 12 tribes of Israel, they had their allotted portion within the promised land of Israel. Right? That's why when you look at biblical maps, you can see what tribe was where. Right? It says, it's given you, you may hear, that the scoundrels among you are leading their fellow citizens astray by saying, let us go worship other gods, gods you have not known before. In such cases, you must examine the facts carefully, right? Like, if you heard that a person is an idol worshiper, you had to go and investigate it, right? You bring a witness with you. Bring 1 or 2 witnesses with you. Because the scriptures say what? Under 2 or 3 witnesses, people got put to death in the ancient world. It says, if you find that the report is true and such a detestable act has been committed among you, you must attack that town and completely destroy all its inhabitants, as well as the livestock. All right, no respect of persons. It says, then you must pile all the plunder in the middle of the open square and burn it. Burn the entire town as a burnt offering to Yahweh your God. That town must remain a ruin forever. It may never be rebuilt. See, this is another reason why the current promised land of Israel is polluted and desolate and needs so much aid from America because of all the wicked acts the Israelites was doing in past generations, all right, that you read about in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, but even before that. That's why that land is not a land flowing with milk and honey, meaning that it doesn't produce the natural resources. That's why the Zionist created state of Israel, they need so much aid from America, all right? So you got to put two and two together when you read the scriptures. It says, that town must remain a ruin forever. It may never be rebuilt. But see, the Lord, he going to have mercy upon Jacob and choose Israel, right? It says, keep none of that plunder that has been set apart for destruction. And that's another reason why Babylon the Great, which is America, is going to be destroyed and never inhabited by people. It says, because there's nothing but idols here. It says, then Yahweh will turn from his fierce anger and be merciful to you. Yeah, because you defended the name of Yahweh Yahushua, right? It says, he will have compassion, meaning mercy on you, and make you a large nation, just as he swore to your ancestors, which is the fathers of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? It says, the Lord your God, which is interpreted as Yahweh our God, the God of Israel, will be merciful only if you listen to his voice and keep all his commands that I am giving you today. This is Moses talking to the children of Israel, doing what pleases him. So that's it. Ain't no respecter of persons when it comes to the law, statutes, and commandments. Either you believe in Yahweh and Yahushua, you follow what they say, or you face the consequences. So, short lesson. Let's go to the next one. Got a little bit more. I thought I was done. So I typed in on Google, does the Bible say to kill idol worshippers? Right? It says, AL overview. It says, yes, the Old Testament of the Bible contains specific direct commands for the Israelites to execute individuals who practice idolatry or entice others to do so. I just read the whole chapter of Deuteronomy 13. It says these commands are primarily found in the Mosaic Law, which function as the legal and conventional code for the ancient nation of Israel. Alright? There you go. Old Testament commands to kill idolaters. I read all that already. We can read this one. It says Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 2 through 7. This law mandates death by stoning for anyone found guilty of violating the Most High's covenant by worshiping other gods, such as the sun, moon, or stars, provided there are 2 or 3 witnesses. Exodus 22 and 20. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than Yahweh alone shall be devoted to destruction. Alright? So I ain't playing. Let's read this. This is Paul talking to the Corinthians, right? This is 1 Corinthians 10 and 14, but let me let you know who Paul is actually addressing, because the book of Corinthians is a letter written to the Israelites that are in Corinth, Greece. He's not talking to the whole inhabitants of Corinth, Greece. He's talking to the Israelites within Corinth, Greece, a specific people. Proof of that is what he's saying, moreover, brethren. That's going to the word brethren, strong G80, right? Of Delphos. It says what? A brother, whether born of the same 2 parents, or only of the same father or mother, having the same national ancestor, which will be who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We come from that seed line, belonging to the same people or countrymen. Paul is talking to Israelites. That's why he uses words like brethren, us, saints, church. It's code word for Israel only. Verse 14, it says, wherefore, my dearly beloved, who's a dearly beloved? The elect of the nation of Israel. That's predestinated unto salvation. Flee from idolatry. Let's go into this word idolatry in the Greek.
Strong's G 1495. Idolatria. Idolatria.
Let's go down here. It says the worship of false gods, idolatry, of the formal sacrificial feats held in honor of false gods, like Bacchus, right? It says of avarice as a worship of mammon. In the plural, devices springing from idolatry and peculiar to it, right? So Paul is telling the Corinthians not to commit idolatry. Don't be an idol worshiper. Don't bow down to wood and stone. Don't reverence wood and stone as you will reverence Yahweh or Yahushua. Finishing it off with this, 1 Corinthians 5:11. It says, But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner, with such and one know not to eat. Alright? So Paul is telling you don't keep company with unbelievers, pretty much. And he was teaching the Israelites as your faith increases, rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord's statutes and commandments. Alright? This is a rule we could keep. We don't have to worship